let's say if you just request for products, this might be the prefix of your URI and the service name. This is the service name. This is the service name, and you just say products.
Right.
Right. So when you use the HTTP method, let's say if I just say products here, you actually want to get list of products, right?
Right.
So you use HTTP method.
Right.
Let's say if you are requesting in the JSON format, you just add that format equal to JSON. You execute it, right? So what it says is, the products underscore get entity set is not implemented in data provider class, right?
Okay.
So let's just go and implement it.
No, that I understood. That's fine. And then what are the different ways of getting to the product? One is using this navigation property,
Yeah.
the order to items, and also products, right?
Yes.
In our example, the other way is um,
The other way is, let's say if for a particular item, right? If for one sales order item, let's say there exist 10 products.
right.
Then you create an association between sales order item and sales order, product with the cardinality of one sales order item and n number of products.
Right.
Right? Then by using the navigation property item to product, you can get from sales order item 1 to 10 products.
Correct. Okay.
But even in your database and all, even in your tables, you should have one item and 10 products in your database.
Correct. Yeah, we have to design based on what the application's requirement is.
Yes, let's say when we look at the sales order item structure or table, right? Let's say if we go here, let's say this is where we get sales order items, right? If we give one sales order ID, if you give one sales order ID, you get 10 sales order items, right?
Yeah.
But if you see there is only one field for product ID. Let's say if the item is supposedly to associate with 10 products, probably you might have a table or you might have product 1, product 2, product 3, product 4 and product 10.
Correct.
Then you can create an association from sales order item to product with 1 to n cardinalities, then you will get all the product details. Basically, the underlying is your table structures, your data structures.
Right. Okay.
In our example, let's say for one sales order, right? There are 10 sales order items. That's how, when we take one sales order, let's say if we take one sales order, so through using order to items, now you get multiple sales order items because in your backend table there are 10 sales order items for one sales order.
Yeah.
And in order to get 10 sales order items, we have defined an association between sales order and sales order item with cardinality of 1 to n. But in our backend database table, there is only one product for one sales order item.
Yes.
Let's say if we wanted to get to multiple products for one sales order item, then we got to, change our table structure and include, multiple products for one single sales order item.
Right.
Just similarly as we have n number of sales order items for one sales order, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah. It is basically, just OData is, it is not creating data. It is not creating data structures. It is just leveraging whatever, the backend data structures or backend table, backend data SAP tables. It is just going to take the data from those tables and could give the output in different formats, which can be understood by several different UI frameworks. We are just formatting the data. We are actually not manipulating the database structures underlying things, right? We are just just like function module does, it gets the data and it writes the data to the database. Similarly,
Right.
this one also, it just does the same thing but in a different format, whether in XML or JSON format.
Correct. Okay.
Yeah. Any more questions?
Mm. So the other question is, can you remove that key that you have mentioned in the URI?
Sure. The whole thing, or
Yeah, the whole thing. I mean, yeah, the with yeah, that's right.
then it will
So
give you the entity set, right?
yeah, is this a valid call?
Yeah. This is what we have. One second. The sales order. Yeah, this should have been a valid call if we create proper association.
Right.
When
So
we
this is
create, yeah, when we create, an association between sales order entity and sales order items entity, we chose on the left hand side there would be only one sales order, right?
right.
It says, if you look at the message, the request URI is not valid. The segment sales orders refers to an entity set and not to a single entity.
Yeah, I did not understand that message. The segment sales orders refers to an
Entity set.
ent
1 second.
entity set. Yeah,
Yeah, not to a single entity.
not a single entity.
How does it, conclude that message? Since we have created the request URI is not valid, the segment sales orders, the relation between sales order and order to items, right? This is the navigation property.
Right.
If you look at SCGW,
Sales, yeah, sales order.
if you look at the navigation property, right? So it is, referring a relationship, okay?
Right.
That relationship is nothing but an association, right?
Yes.
What does it say? The principal entity cardinality is 1. So it is expecting only single entity, whereas you passed entity set.
And mm,
So it just says that the segment sales orders refers to an entity set and not to a single entity.
Okay. So then for this URI to work, we should have made the association as N to N, right?
Yeah.
N sales order
Um,
to N sales order items. And also, yeah,
but I mean, how do you mean? Okay, I mean, technically it is possible. We can just say N to N. But how does it reflect in, I mean, let's say, let's think, uh, what does mean it in plain English, what does it mean? I mean, when we create association, we choose cardinality 1, right, for sales order,
right.
and for the sales order items, we choose cardinality N.
Yeah,
In
that means
plain
that for one,
English,
yeah,
it leads to one sales order contains N number
N,
of sales order items.
right,
But let's say just put N to N. What does that mean?
means N sales order will have N sales order items.
Okay. So, I mean, in business, how is it reflected? I mean, so what does it mean? Uh, so I have 10 sales orders.
Hmm.
10 sales orders have 10 sale, I mean, N number of sales
100.
order items altogether, or how?
Yeah, I mean, same. However, the business is currently, I mean, like one sales order having N sales order items.
Okay.
But basically, what I'm trying to say is, I mean, basically show it with this URI only. I want to show, I mean, the same way. I mean, with one sales order and then um, all the sales order items under it, like how we showed it in the expand with the expand option, right?
Yeah, I mean, what the expand option does is, let's say, I mean, when we are requesting, okay, give me all the sales orders and its associated sales order items and its
Mm.
associated products,
Right.
right? So at one go, I mean, here, let's say if I just put some, I mean, let's say if I just add some sales order, right? So what expand does is, let's say, we might not. Okay, 1 second. What it does is the expand gives you both sales order entity and its corresponding sales order items. Whatever mean associated with the sales order 5 million, it is going to give you both informations in one request. Whereas you are clear with this, right?
Yeah.
Whereas this gives only sales order items.
Correct. Correct. Yeah.
This gives only sales order items.
Right.
But I
Yeah.
mean, whenever you are requesting for sales order items, it should know which sales order you are requesting for.
Right.
Because sales order items does not exist by itself, right? It should have a parent sales order,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. No, but the sales order item also has the sales order ID also in it. So, I mean,
Yeah, but I mean, so when I say sales orders, it don't understand, okay, you are asking for sales order items, but which sales order?
Mm.
So otherwise, I mean, you can just give, when you are requesting for sales order items, you can just give, let's say if you just want sales order items, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you want a particular sales order, I mean, you could just give sales order ID and its corresponding sales order item. Then you will get that particular sales order item.
Uh, oh, okay.
I mean,
Can we
yeah,
can in the current scenario, the way that we have set up, would that work? Can you just go back and go to the URI,
okay.
give a sales order and
Sales order items, but we got to pass the keys, right? In order to
right,
get
right.
a,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, let's say, one
So
second.
for this, I mean, we sales order items. Okay. So here we are directly calling by the entity set, right? Here we are not using the navigation property, right?
Yeah, here we are, I mean, using it direct.
Right.
Okay,
Okay.
one second, we will see in the order to items. Let's say some 10.
So for this, we have to implement the sales order item get entity, right?
Yes.
Right.
If we did not implement, it just gives you error saying that since we did not implement here, it just says
Right.
that, I mean, the corresponding method is not implemented. No format. It says sales order items underscore get entity not implemented in data provider class.
Right.
Yeah. It's basically, I
Basically,
mean, how
so
you,
basically,
yeah, go ahead.
if we directly want to just see the entity by itself, I mean, we just give the, I don't know if I'm saying it correctly, like how we have used here. I mean, this is the entity set name actually. The sales order items is the entity set name
Yes.
along with, right?
I mean,
Similarly, we can even do it for the products also.
yeah. I mean, in whenever you are, I mean, preparing this URI, there will always be, whether you are requesting one, other whether you are requesting multiple, this mean is always entity set name. Let's say if you are requesting multiple, you just don't give any keys. If you are requesting for one, then you give the keys, primary keys. Let's say while you are creating, you just don't give any keys, give the entity set name, but give HTTP method post.
Right,
Let's say if you are updating it, then you will give the entity set name in order to uniquely identify, I mean, one particular object to update, you will give the keys and you choose the HTTP method put.
right,
So if you want to delete a particular, I mean, sales order ID or sales order item, you give the key because that's how you identify a particular sales order item or sales order. But here you will always have entity set name.
right, right. So basically this can also be called differently by giving the, I mean, by going from the sales order, then giving the
Yeah,
uh,
other two items.
application property. Right.
Yeah, basically, I mean, let's say if you expect a URI, then you know which method it will be called because you will just, I mean, calculate which method it is going to be called, right? Let's
Right.
say if I just say sales order, okay,
It should be sales orders, right? S
yeah,
also.
sales orders,
Mm.
okay, and I choose this sales order, okay, and I say order two items, right?
Right.
This is my URI, okay.
Right.
Let me just
Right.
copy it, okay.
So this particular URI is exactly same as the previous call.
Yes, but how do you deduce to this one? First, you look at sales orders, right?
Right.
Sales orders you are requesting for one single sales order with the 5 million for, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
then you are requesting for navigation property order to items, okay?
Right.
What this one will mean bring to what the this whole part will result sales order items, right?
Correct.
This whole part up to this will give multiple sales order items, okay?
Right. Right.
Then the whole thing results to this one, right?
Correct.
So now the URI is this one, okay?
Right.
Now based on the HTTP method, if it is get,
It will get.
I
It
will
will.
implement sales orders underscore get entity, right? If it is put, I will implement
No,
sales
this
order,
will be sales order items, right?
yeah, I mean sorry, sales order items. If it is put, I will say update entity,
Right.
okay? If
Mm-hmm.
it is delete, HTTP method delete, I will implement sales order items underscore delete entity.
Yeah.
But in this case, I expect request body too, right?
Right.
So in this case, I don't request any request body because I am requesting to get the sales order item. In this case, I am trying to update a sales order item. Then
Mhm.
apart from this URI, I will request a request body.
What does that needs request body? I did not understand that.
I mean, you got to give information here, right? You are trying to update, but with what values you wanted to update.
Oh. Oh, you mean the keys?
You got to provide information here, right?
Oh. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah, yeah.
But when you are requesting for delete, you don't need to pass any information here because you already know through these keys, you already know which item you want to delete.
Right. Right.
So in this case get, you know which item you are requesting. You are requesting for sales order ID 5,000,004 and sales order item 10.
Correct.
Yeah. So through URIs, you come to know which method you should really implement.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, initially you will have lot of questions, but whenever you are practicing, just look at, I mean, merely writing code does not help, but just look at what is the URI, what method is it is called. So, I mean, you should come to know which method is corresponding to which, I mean, HTTP method and the URI. Uh,
Right.
Does it make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, any more questions?
The other question was, I can't think of any application, but have you worked on any application where for one particular, like, I'm just giving an example, sales order to sales order item, you define two different kinds of relations, two different kinds of um, association. I mean, is it possible, or I mean,
Yeah, I
this
mean,
is
it is, I mean, technically possible. Let's say if I create, let's say, I mean, here I have created an association, right?
right.
Between sales order to sales order items. Let's
Mm-hmm.
say, I mean, if I create another association where the principal entity is sales order and
Mm-hmm.
the dependent entity is sales order item. This
Mm-hmm.
time I can create, right? This time I can create one, I mean, the cardinality on the left hand side is one. Even on the, let's say, I mean, just get the, let's say if I create, let's say if my, in my requirement, if I wanted to get the first sales order item, right? Okay. Let's say if I create, I will create sales order item first, the association.
Mm-hmm.
This time what will happen is I will say sales order 1, okay. The navigation property is order to item, sorry, no, sorry. Okay, let me create the association again. Cardinality is 1 and order to item first, right? Here I will choose sales order item and cardinality is 1, okay. So the dependent entity is also sales order ID, okay. Um, First set, okay. Let me just save it and regenerate the runtime artifacts. Now on my sales order, there are two navigation properties, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Each corresponding to I mean, a different relationship or a different association,
Right.
right? So, I mean, now I should, I mean, so let's say, one second. If I say like this, if my URI is like this, since I requested, since the cardinality of the sales order is 1, I got to pass, I mean, this key always, right?
Yeah.
Then I will call the navigation property order to item first. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Then which method you should implement?
Sales order items get entity.
Okay, yeah. So we will just go to runtime artifacts. We will redefine this method, but let us just, okay, don't I mean I did not write any code. I will just see what kind of information I am getting so that I can write code accordingly.
Mm.
Since I made the change, let me go back and come back again.
Load metadata.
So I'll just say this one, right? So it comes to here. Let's look at what is the entity name that you are requesting for.
Sales order items.
But where the request is originated from.
Sales orders.
Yeah. So, I mean, whatever the first, right? Whatever the, I mean, whatever from coming from source, you will receive in the IT underscore key tab, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So in the navigation path, okay, you will get your, I mean, order to item, right?
Right.
So you will look at, I mean, if it is, one second. So you will implement like this, one second. So the sales order item can be I mean, straightforward too, right? I mean, let's say if you say, uh, the sales order item, this one also calls the same method, right? The second URI.
Oh yeah. Yes.
Okay, so
Yes.
similarly, even this one calls the same method. Even this one called the same method, right?
Correct.
But I mean, then you
Uh,
got to implement this method
no,
to,
you have to give for sales orders. You have to give the
yeah, yeah,
sales order
sorry,
ID,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, you're right. Then you got to implement this method to support all these three scenarios, right?
Right.
So simply I will say, okay, if IV source name
Sales order.
equal to IV entity name. When will this happen?
When
Only
the
in, yeah, only in this scenario when you are directly calling the sales order item through its keys.
correct.
So I mean, let's say else, right?
Mm.
Otherwise you will read the navigation path, right?
Mm.
You will read the navigation path. Read IT navigation path, read table, into to ls nav path. Okay, basically with index 1 you will read the first one, right?
Right.
So if navigation property name property navigation property equal to, let's say, order item to first, right?
Mm.
We know which sales order item we need to get, right? We always get the first sales order item.
Right. For this navigation property.
But if it is, I mean, if it is a different navigation property,
Right.
then you got to read this stuff.
Key tab.
No, it does not. I mean, only in the key tab you will have this value.
No, no, no. In the navigation
Yeah,
item.
yeah. In the navigation path, you will receive the key tab.
Yeah.
In the navigation path, I mean, earlier we have seen how to do it. In the navigation
Right.
path,
Right.
you will have key tab, then you read that one.
Correct. Correct.
So, I mean, so that part
Then
is clear, right? I mean, you know how to
yes.
do
Yes.
that one. So let's just
Yeah. Yeah.
implement for the first one.
Yeah. No, that's okay. So the right. I mean,
No, no, I mean,
this is
this, I mean, that's how you, I mean, learn it, right?
right.
I don't mind, I mean, going through and showing it, but anyhow, we know the second path.
Right.
So let's just do it for the first one.
Mm.
If it is first one, okay, where do we receive this information?
Key tab. The just the key tab, not the navigation, but the key tab.
Yeah, read table, IT key tab into ls key tab, right?
Right.
With index 1. No, with key,
No. No.
yeah, with key,
Yeah. SOID.
yeah, name
Uh,
equal to
name. Yeah.
ID, right?
Right.
So we'll get the sales order ID. Okay. So we are going to convert
Mm.
the sales order ID to pre-fill the leading spaces with 0. We
Yeah.
pass this one.
Hyphen value. And you can take it also in the value only.
Yeah, I mean that's why I got to define that structure, right?
Oh.
So while we are here, let me just take the header and item data too. So this is where I receive the value in SOID. Okay. So uncomment this one. So once you got the value, then you are just going to get this pass this structure as input. Okay, and receive the header data. And in the item data,
Yeah. For the header, you have to give the header structure, not the type.
yeah.
Same for the SOID also. Just the structure, not the whole. Yeah. Full stop. Yeah.
So when we got the LT, I mean sales order items, we read the first one because that is
Yeah.
what we are requesting for, right?
Correct. Index 1.
So if it is not initial,
ER entity is equal to LSSO item.
yeah, I will just say since it is of the same type,
LS.
I think move also work here, but just say move corresponding LSSO item.
To ER entity.
Yeah. So if I request the same information now, it gives you the corresponding sales order item. How does it
Right.
know? Based on the association, based on the navigation property, it looked
Mm-hmm.
at the navigation property, so it take you to the association and it looked at the dependent entity cardinality and you know what method it should be called, right?
Right.
So that's how it works. So basically,
Perfect.
I mean, you got to take into consideration what the UI needs are. So, I mean, in this case, the sales order item, a particular sales order item can get through this URI, can get through
Mm-hmm.
this URI, can get through this URI. So if you have an understanding between, I mean, what the UI is requesting for, then you can, I mean, implement the corresponding methods accordingly.
So when we implement a method, I mean, we have to code for all the different possible
I mean,
ways.
not necessarily, but I mean, that's where, I mean, let's say if you are writing it from some third party, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and you don't know how they are going to consume,
Right.
then you need to take all these things into consideration.
Mm-hmm.
But let's say, I mean, the same, this thing is, I mean, used by inside, I mean, your, I mean, customer space or something. Then you
Mm-hmm.
know, I mean, from the other party how they are going to request it, right?
Okay.
I mean, technically, I mean, let's say if you create, I mean, that's why you, I mean, you don't create this association, right?
Right, right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
No, I
mean,
just wanted to know if we
no,
can create
no,
different
no, no,
associations.
that's what I'm saying. I mean, I
Right,
mean, we are just, I mean, for discussion sake, we created it. But the
right, right.
thing is, I mean, in a real sense, I mean, you just don't do it. But I
Mm-hmm.
mean, you have two different scenarios here.
Right.
This one or this one, right?
Mm-hmm.
But let's say when we look at the UI application, definitely he is not going to use this one because um, because I mean maybe he used this one, but in most probable sense he is just going to first he will get all the sales orders. I mean, you remember the application that I have shown, right?
Right. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, the orders are on the left side and
Yeah, then So now, I mean, in order to get sales order items, we know that he is going to choose a sales order, then we are going to get all the sales order items,
Right.
right? So, I mean, whenever he chooses a sales order item, we are not going to
Mm.
get the sales order item details. I mean, because we already got, I mean, through sales order items entity set, we already know all those details. But we are going to navigate to a product.
Right.
So in all, I mean, let's say in all possibilities, you are never going to implement this method because you don't need it, right?
Right. Right.
But in a true sense, let's say if one wanted to get with all the associations we conceived, right? I mean, these are the three ways he can get to the sales order item. I mean,
Correct.
if we don't take this one into consideration, but if we just take the entities and the associations and the navigation properties we have created, these are the three ways to get to the sales order item. Then you got to implement whatever the URI might be. Then you got to implement to accommodate all these URIs.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
Any more questions?
No, Sudhir. Thank you.
Okay. Let me delete. I mean all this. So first, let me start with the associations. So let me start with association set. I mean, this is the association set we created with the new association. So let me delete it. And oh, we association set first. Let me delete this one. And I have created this navigation property. So let me just delete it. So to check the consistency, so no problems. Okay. So in the last class, I mean, when we discussed the,
Expand.
okay, this is so far we have got. I mean, we have just got up to order two items. Say sales orders and okay, expand equal to
Order two items.
two items And as we are going to request it in the JSON format, I'm going to add the query option format equal to JSON. Okay. So if I look at it, for simplistic reasons, I'm just going to request 3 sales order items and the corresponding 3 sales orders and its corresponding sales order items, so we can look at it. Okay, so if we look at it, we got all the sales orders and its corresponding items. Okay, so this is sales order items for sales order 5 million. Oh, sorry. It is showing the other navigation property too, since we changed it.
Oh, load metadata.
Yeah. So if you look at it, we received the outer curly braces meant it is JSON object, and this D stands for the total payload that you receive, and inside, since it is going to be an object, since it is going to be an array, so you receive the sales order 5 million, and in the navigation property order to items, you will receive all the sales order items for the sales order 5 million, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. After that, you will get the second sales order 5 million and 1. Then you will have the sales order items, right, 10. So like that, 20, 30, 40, 50, similar like that, 70, 90, 100. And you will get the next sales order, right? And we have only implemented this get expanded entity set for the order to items. But how do we know what the user has requested, right? So let me keep it in a debug so that we can see. So if you look at it, there is a request IO underscore tech underscore request context. If you look at it, there is a method called getExpand. Actually whatever we pass here, whatever we pass in the expand, we should get in the IO, we should get in this object IO tech underscore request underscore context. What I mean to say is, this is the URI, right? This is the URI, and we implemented this expanded entity set without even taking into consideration what is the expand. Even if I say item to product, if I wanted to expand one more level deep from sales order item to product, we don't get product because we did not implement this expanded entity set to include products, right? Do you understand?
Yeah.
So let's say if I just say item to products, right? Item to product, sorry. So if we look at it, order to items and wow, yeah, I mean, something is messed up. It is looking for the product, but if you look at it, we are not getting the complete data. Normally, it should not even do that, but I mean, just because it is doing it, I mean, we will look what is wrong, but I mean, it don't give any details. I mean, it just gives some bunch of junk data. So it did not even give, I mean, since we are requesting for three sales orders, it did not even give the, three sales orders. In the product data, it just, put us some bunch of data, okay?
Mm.
But the main point here is we did not implement this method based on what user is requesting. We have just generally implemented it to expand sales orders and its corresponding sales order items, right? You guys got it?
Yeah.
So, what I'm saying is we should look at what the user is requesting, then accordingly we should accommodate both. So we can expand like this, or there are two scenarios. One is this one is ordered up to order two items, and the other one is order to item slash item to product. So we are going one more level deep to get the products associated with the corresponding item too. So we have only done up to this. That too, we did not look at what the user is requesting. So let's change the code a little bit. What I will do is I will just say data lv expand type string, right? So first, from the IO underscore tech underscore request underscore context object, this is where we receive all the information that user has passed in the request, right? IO underscore tech underscore request underscore context. So I will look at the methods. Okay, there is a method called get underscore expand. 1 second. Let me keep a breakpoint.
Might be in the other parameter IO expand.
1 second. No.
No.
No. Let me look at the input data, so we'll come to know. This is the thing that I'm looking at. Hmm. 1 second, let me look at the methods. Get source keys. Get navigation path. Navigation property name. Let's look at some data here. The expand here is other two items. Okay, I think in this parameters, context parameters, no. Uh, it is there in the parameters. If you look at it, there is expand. We should look at, I mean, this expand what, I mean, what the, I mean, expand is, then we can write the logic, I mean, to that. I mean, let's say if we are requesting for other two items slash item to product, then we got to include product information also apart from the sales order items information. Okay, but it used to, I mean, it used to have get underscore expand method which will directly give us the key. 1 second, let me, okay, context parameters. Let's look at get the navigation path. Let's see. If we look at, let's look at expand. Now it does not have any methods to get the expand. Let's get one more time. Let's look at all the import parameters. Okay, it does not have navigation part. But okay, I will look at couple of the mandatory things. Data. Let me look at couple of options. So that's what I'm trying. Type table of. Okay. Okay, let me call again and see whether we get function F. No, we did not get in both the methods. Hey, let me check tomorrow because I know there used to be get expand method which will give whatever we have passed directly, whatever we have passed here directly we would get with the get expand method. Somehow in this version I don't see that get expand method. So let me just check. 1 second. Yeah, it says that get expand is not there. I remember, in 7.01 or 7.1 we used to have this get expand method which it will give this value whatever the expand whatever the expand class that we are sending we will get it in the through get expand method so that we can based at the expand class that we are using we can have different implementations based on the expand class. I will check tomorrow and let you know, guys. Any questions?
No.